If you are trying to save 3 or 6 months of your salary as an emergency fund, you should totally stop doing that. The reason is that when I hear this piece of advice to save for 3 or 6 months of salary as an emergency fund, I believe that it is dangerously incomplete because it leaves you totally exposed. What if I tell you that there is a smarter way to calculate your bare bone minimum number that can give you the real protection? In this video, I'm going to share the exact equation to find you the emergency fund number that you need as per your requirement. And you won't believe it is way lower, at the same time enough safer than what you have in your head. If you think that saving for 3 or 6 months of your salary as an emergency fund is a good equation for you, it is like you are following a doctor who is giving the same prescription to every patient irrespective of your illness. And if you follow this, you might ending up in one of these two situations. Either you might not have that enough amount of the emergency fund if real emergency happens, or you might have tons of money sitting idle in your checking account. It is losing value against the inflation. So let's fix it right now. Now let's quickly understand why depending on the salary to calculate your emergency fund is having a lots of flow. And we will understand this by two situations. Situation number one, imagine you are earning $6,000 after the tax every month in your home. And as per the rule, you are saving 3 months of salary as an emergency fund. That's $18,000. And for this, you are working very hard. You are not taking any day off and you think that you are totally secure. But what if your essential expenses like your mortgage or rent, car payment, bills that you need for your survival, that makes your life easier, are around $4,500? What do you think? If you divide 18,000 divided by 4,500, that can give you the fuel for the next 4 months. But with an assumption that in this 4 months, nothing else will go wrong. If 2 or 3 emergencies comes at the same time, what will happen? You will be more poorer than you were when you were working itself. And this is why I say that older way of calculating emergency fund based on the salary does not work in any way. It gives you the false security of the life. Now let's again flip the coin and see the situation. You are again earning $6,000. But you are a ruthless saver. You end up just spending $2,500 just on your essential. You do not go for a movie. You do not go on a vacation. And you are following the traditional piece of advice and you have saved around $36,000 as an emergency fund. If you see this $36,000, you have $21,000 unnecessarily saved because you just needed around $15,000 to $18,000 as an emergency fund if you are just spending $2,500. You have more than $21,000 sitting in just your current account or any high interest saving account, and actually it's losing its value against the inflation because you never needed that amount of money. That money was never invested, that money was never compounded, and it is not gonna grow that much. It is sitting just idle. In both these scenarios, you are totally screwed. Either you will be totally broke down when you lose the job, or you will not have enough wealth when you retire because you have parked your boat on the wrong anchor with the wrong emergency fund number. Now let's fix this with a very simple remedy. Whenever you are calculating your emergency fund number, totally avoid your salary. It has nothing to do with your salary. It has nothing to do with your income. Just try to focus on bare bone survival number. This bare minimum survival number is around the absolute minimum number that you needed for your survival. Otherwise, your life will be a little bit harder to live. We are not talking about the lifestyle that you are living right now, where you are going for a movie a couple of times in a month, or you are having a pizza party every Friday with your friends. I'm just talking about keeping your lights on. You have a survival shelter on your head. You have some food in your fridge. Period. That's it. Calculating the emergency fund is not about feeling deprived. It is about getting control on yourself. You should not focus on, let's say, a range. You need $50,000 or $30,000. Absolutely no. Your focus should be, I just need $2,500 for a month for my survival. And when you think in this way, you will suddenly feel that the mountain of the emergency fund feels like climbable now. Because that mountain is not built on a guess. It is now built on a piece of data that you have gathered, you have collected, you have calculated by yourself. I hope whatever I have discussed until now, it makes sense. And if it does, let's quickly calculate your emergency fund number, your bare bone minimum survival number. And for this, I just need 3 things for you. Obviously you, a piece of paper, pen or spreadsheet if you are a tech person, and just your last month's credit card bill. That's it. I don't need anything else. And in just 3 steps, I will help you to calculate your emergency fund. So are you ready? So step 1, just go through your credit card and mark down all these expenses that you need for your survival. For example, if you are definitely living in a house, you need to pay either mortgage or a rent. That's essential. In order to have electricity in your house, you need to pay some bills. That's electricity bills, phone bills, internet bills that you all need to make your life easier. Obviously, you need to have some food in your fridge. You need to have some food in your kitchen. Without that, you are unable to survive. But make sure you include all those small groceries that you have done at your Walmart or nearby no frills. I'm not talking about dining out at every Friday. No, that's not your essential survivals. You need to transport, you need to go to a job, you have car payments. Any insurances if you have, whether it's a life insurance or the health insurance if the country is not providing, or any minimum debt you have on your head, like whether you are paying for the mortgage or something else. These are all the essentials that you need for a survival. These are all the cannot live without essentials that you need to mark that down. Step number 2, this is more interesting. Ruthlessly put big X mark on all the expenses apart from whatever you have marked in the step number 1. You do not need that for a survival. Those expenses does not get count while calculating your emergency fund. Yes, this includes your Netflix subscriptions. This includes your Spotify subscription that you haven't used. This includes your gym membership that you haven't gone to the gym from the last 3 months. All the expenses that you have done on your vacation, that you have done for the dining out, that you have done to buy clothes once a month. The goal is not to live this life forever. Absolutely no. I'm not asking you to live this life for the rest of the life. No. We are here to try get the exact amount of the emergency fund that we need to have in our bank account, and for that we need to absolutely cut these unnecessary expenses. And the last step is to do the calculation. Just add up all the expenses, just do the summation of expenses that you have found in step number 1. Now by seeing the number, you would have realized that even though your monthly expenses are around, let's say $5,000, but your bare minimum numbers, it is just adding up to $2,500. You are doing all those expenses unnecessarily. And all those 2,500 numbers is your real number for a month. Now we have our monthly baseline that what we need for an emergency fund. Let's try to figure it out how many months of emergency fund we need. And let me tell you that this number totally depends on an individual's profile. Yes, that's true. Begin with a starter fund of, let's say, $1,000. Imagine you do not have a single dollar of an emergency fund. First milestone to achieve is $1,000. Here, let me tell you something more interesting. I have seen some people who are investing tons amount of money, but they do not have an emergency fund. If you are doing that too, let me tell you that you are totally into the opposite direction in your personal finance history. Or did I say history? In your personal finance journey. You cannot do that. If you have not money as an emergency fund and you are investing, that's no good idea. So if you do not have a single dollar in your emergency fund, try to achieve $1,000 as soon as possible. Consider this as like a flat tire fund, because this will help you prevent from not being into the high interest debt. This will save you from getting loan from a personal finance support provider where you will be getting range of 12 to 13% as an interest rate. So get here fast. Once you have your $1,000 as an emergency fund, next try to focus on next 3 or 6 months. Let's say if you have a very stable job, at the same time your spouse is having the same kind of stuff too. I would aim for at least 3 months of emergency fund, because since you are in a stable job, you have been doing the job for a longer term, the chances of you getting a new job in case you lose is very much higher, and also your spouse is earning. But let's say if you are a solo earner, you have a family, you have kids, and your wife is not earning, if your spouse is not earning, I would aim for the next 6 months as an emergency fund. But let's say if you are a sole earner, if you are a self-independent, if you are a self-earner or the freelancer, and where you heavily depend on commission, where your predictable income is not predictable in any way, then you must be aiming for more than at least around 12 months of emergency fund, because that will give you enough amount of the safety net. For most of the people, saving for maximum of 12 months is more than enough. But let's say if you are a sole earner but you have massive monthly expenses, there are a large number of dependents in your family, and you work in a specific kind of niche where if you lose a job, it might take at least a year to get a new job. You should try to aim to save for 12 or 16 months or 18 months max. Like if I talk about myself, my monthly expenses is around $4,000, like essential expenses. And for that, I have saved around $48,000, and it is sitting in my high interest savings account that is giving me around 80-90 free bucks. Like 48,000 is more than enough. I'm not aiming much than that, but you must decide based on your work profile. And if you think that if this breakdown is really making sense and it is making your thought clear, I would really appreciate if you can subscribe to this channel and hit the like button, because although it takes only 1 second to do this, but this will tell the YouTube algorithm that this no-nonsense piece of advice should get reached to the more people. It is making sense. The building emergency fund is like winning the half battle, but the most important problem, more troublesome problem, is to manage that. And this is where most of the people commits mistake. They continue save this amount in their checking account. The problem is that these are the easily accessible account. Let's say if you are going to a mall, you are seeing a very nice pair of Nike shoes. What you would think? I have $30,000, let me spend on it. But you don't know that Nike shoes does not come in your essential. You are spending it from your emergency fund. And this is where you are breaking the law. This is where most of the people fails to manage the emergency fund. If you are doing that, stop doing that. Try to move this amount as soon as possible in a high interest saving account, because it will help you to avoid spending money from your emergency fund, and at the same time it will generate some kind of interest from the high interest saving account itself, and that is helping you to fight against inflation. The second stupid mistake that people have been doing it, that they want to invest this emergency fund, and you won't believe I was one of them too before I understood this concept in a nicer way. People want to invest their emergency fund into the stock market because they think that, oh, it is sitting idle for 2 months, nothing will happen, let the money grow. But they don't realize that, imagine there is a 2008 market bubble burst, and at the same time you are losing your job. Best of luck to your personal finance. You will have to liquidate all those losses and you will end up saving almost nothing. Just know that this money, emergency fund, is not for the growth, it is just for the security. So try to save it in a nicer way. And the third most common mistake people do with the emergency fund is that once they set it, they totally forget it. You should know that your life is not always static. Once you get married, you have kids, you need a bigger house, you need a bigger car. Everything gets changed over the period of time. So once you achieve any first milestone, let's say you have gathered the emergency fund for 6 months, now it is time to review your bare minimum financial number for a month once again. And you gotta do it almost every year. You gotta do it whenever you achieve any financial milestones. Do not set it and do not forget it. In the conclusion, I can just say you that ditch the old, outdated month of incomes as a piece of advice to save for an emergency fund. The real financial security starts by calculating your unique, personal, bare-bone minimum monthly number. Pick your timeline, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, based on your profession, and start saving. Put that money into the high-interest saving account and guard it like fiercely. Saving money for the emergency fund is not about living into scarcity, but it is about buying freedom and making sure that you are at least one step ahead of everybody else. Now it is your time to tell me what is your bare-bone minimum financial emergency fund number. Make sure you comment in the comment box. I am really much eager to see what range we are getting in these comments. If you want to see more similar videos where I can give you strategical, tactical, personal finance piece of advice, you make sure subscribe to this channel and hit the bell button. Until I see you into the next video, you really take care, earn more, invest more, and repeat the strategy. Thank you so much for watching.